In this video, we'll talk about using notes, tags, and related items to add more context and organization to your library. Since you cannot annotate directly on PDFs in Zotero, adding notes to your documents is a great way to keep in mind important details, quotes, and things of that nature. You can also use tags to make works findable in multiple ways. So even though you can add things to collections, you can also add these tags, which are words of your choosing, to articles to make them findable in whatever way you desire. And lastly, you can link related works. And this means that every time you look at one work, if you've linked it to another, you'll be able to see that relationship and keep in mind that you thought those works went together in some way. All three of these features, the notes, tags, and related items, are available in the right-hand pane of your Zotero library. So you'll see it defaults to info, but then you have the option for notes, tags, and related. As I mentioned, Zotero does not have a built-in PDF annotator, so they compensate for that by giving you the ability to add notes to an article. When you select Add to add a note, you'll see it opens pretty much, it's just a mini word processor. So I can type text here. You can do things like add a bullet point, you can add a numbered list. It sort of has all those basic features that you would see in a word processor. And ideally this is a way so you can add some context and some meaning to the article so you don't have to go back and reread it. You've got all of your important notes linked here. And now you might find it a little daunting to think, okay, I have to open the PDF, here I'm reading the PDF, then I have to minimize it and go back and add my notes. So Zotero tries to make this a little bit easier, and the way they do that, if you look all the way at the bottom here, there's this option to edit in a separate window. So click that, and now it brings up the word processor as a pop-up window. So what's nice about this is, let's say I want to read the article and annotate it at the same time. I can pull up the PDF, and now here I can put my word processor, I can resize it, I can do whatever I want with it, and keep it somewhere on the screen while I'm reading, so I don't have to do so much toggling back and forth. And that way if I see something of interest and need to copy and paste it in, or just add in the note, it's much easier to do. And once you've finished with your notes, you don't have to press save, you can just close it, and Zotero will automatically have saved the note you created. And you can double check this. Here I'm back in my main library. This is the article. If I click on note, it'll bring up the full text of whatever note I was writing. And remember, these notes, when you first click on a record in Zotero, everything's collapsed, you can't see anything. So you either need to click on your notes tab, or if you click the little arrow next to the record, remember it will show you the PDF and any other associated files, which will include your notes. So in addition to adding notes, you can also add these things called tags. If you're not familiar with tags, they're usually just 1 or 2 word little descriptors about a work. And you can make these really unique so that you can go back and find things in really meaningful ways. So, you could add a tag that says unread to any documents you've added but haven't read yet, so you can bring up that list. You could add a tag for lit review. You could add a really specific tag about a certain type of theory. It can be literally anything you want. And the reason it can be useful to use tags in Zotero is the tags are searchable. So even if I have a bunch of lit review articles, but they're in many different folders, I could search for my lit review tag and bring up that whole list. So let's look at how to do that. I'm going to add a tag to this document, and I'm going to use lit review as the tag and push enter. You can add as many as you want. Now let's say I need to go back and find all of the articles that I added the lit review tag to. The way you do that is you're going to use the little search box at the top of the screen. But before you just start typing in the tag, click on the arrow in the search box, and you can choose to search all fields and tags. You want to do that so that you're actually searching the tag section. And now when I type in lit review, here's my list of articles that I've added the lit review tag to. So even though these are in a bunch of different places in my library, they're in different folders, if I search for the tag, I get that whole list in one place. So it's a really great way to make things even more findable and add even more context to your documents. The one other thing to know about the tags is Zotero has a default preference to automatically add keywords and subject terms as tags whenever possible. So if you're saving from a database and Zotero can see the keywords or subject terms assigned to the article, it will save them as tags. So sometimes, here I have this emotional intelligence article highlighted, I click on tags, there are 8 tags there. I can see I added the lit review one, but the other 7 were added automatically by Zotero because it could see that those were used as descriptors for the article in its database. It can't do this with everything, but whenever it can interpret that data, it will automatically pull it over for you. What's nice about this is these are basically the search terms I could use to go back and find this article or similar articles. So it's just sort of a nice bonus feature. If I was struggling, needing to find more, I could come here and say, oh, I should run a search for emotional intelligence and maybe test validity to find other similar works. Lastly, we'll discuss the related feature. So as I mentioned earlier, the related feature is meant to let you link articles that you think have a relationship. And that can be useful because this can sort of help you build a web of related works as you're going through your research process. So the way this works is, let's say I've read this first article about we have to make an effort, and I think, wow, this really reminds me of this other article I read. If I come to the Related tab and click Add, first what will happen, this pop-up window is just a miniature version of my Zotero library, and it's letting me navigate around. And so if I read this first article and I say, oh gosh, this really reminded me of this other article, I can scroll around, find the other article, and say OK. And now that I said OK, you can see in the Related tab, it's linked this first one to the other article I chose. So if I'm ever having trouble remembering, oh, how did I think this article went with the other one? What was the name of that article? If I've added them in the related section, then I can instantly see, and I could add as many as I want. So that's a really nice way just to start seeing connections and getting them out of your head and into your Zotero library, just to add some further context. And that's it for the notes, tags, and related items. In our next tutorial, we'll talk about how you generate citations and bibliographies from within Zotero.